kid people and believing that he can influence in any way, shape, fashion, or form the federal government. That's a federal government project. If we're going to get increases in Social Security, it must be done at a national level, not at a municipal level.
So how do we help at the local level?
Well, I want to respond to that.
Okay.
I did not indicate that we're going to pass that legislation at the local level, but absolutely we have an opportunity and an obligation, I should say, to lobby our congressional delegation. And that's what I did. I did not suggest that we pass legislation at the local level to increase the cost of living and Social Security. And I want to make that clear. And every senior citizen that got the postcard that we sent, they understand that, and they signed petitions in the senior citizen buildings in order to make that happen. So I just want to make it clear. I understand the difference between federal and local, and where you pass legislation. What I advocated for and what I tried to champion was us seniors getting together to lobby our congressional delegation so that when they're in Washington, they can push to make this federal legislation move so seniors can get more money in their pocket. That's what I did.
Okay, so Mr. Bell, at the local level, how do you in fact help seniors then?
Well, right now, helping senior citizens is a very serious problem. Right now, what I've been doing, trying to help senior citizens, for the past 11 years, I've been having what I call a food drop program, where I deliver food to not only seniors, but to family throughout the city of Newark, not just senior citizens, trying to address the poverty level of all the people in the city of Newark. Food on their table, something that they can see immediately.
Okay, quick follow-up, and then I want to move on.
This food drop program that Mr. Bell alludes to, it really is, and you have to talk to seniors in the building. There's favoritism with it, there's struggle. Oftentimes seniors tell me that stale food, rotten food is delivered. I know exactly where the food comes from. It comes from the food bank. And I've indicated to every single senior citizen place that I will show them themselves how to fill out this application, form a nonprofit where one doesn't exist, so they can be in touch with the food pantry directly and not have to rely on political favoritism to get food that they need. To play politics with food, which is the most essential thing that seniors and people rely on, is ridiculous, it's despicable, and when I become the Central Ward Council person, it will end.
Mr. Bell, did you want to respond?
Well, I just want to say that he may call it despicable, but in the meantime, it's food on the table for some family who is in need. He can call it whatever he wants, but there's a lot of poverty in the city of Newark, and the people need the food on their table.
Okay, let's move on to the next topic. Mr. Bell, I'm going to address this to you first. The Central Ward's housing stock has changed dramatically over the last 20 years, the last 2 decades. Give us your assessments of the housing needs in your ward.
The housing need in the Central Ward, since the federal government has done away with the one-for-one formula, now housing must be built based upon what we call a leveling platform. All housing that's built in the Central Ward, as of today, it's available for low, moderate, and high income. There will no longer be any kind of old Columbus home or Scudder homes or Stellarite homes. Those kinds of low income housing is a thing of the past. Now you must have housing that is available on a basis of people being able to afford. But no longer will we have low income housing in the city of Newark.
Mr. Sharif?
Yes, housing has and affordable housing has and always will be a big issue. And as a Central Ward Council person, I will try to increase the number of low-income and affordable units for Central Ward and Newark residents. We see people every single day who are having to live on the street or in emergency shelters, and that's one of the most basic things that we can provide: food, clothing, and shelter. And I'll try to attain as many subsidies as I can so that when developers come to build housing, they can reduce the cost of that unit or that house to people who so desperately need housing.
Now, gentlemen, the public housing has also changed in the city over the years. Is the Newark Housing Authority doing a good enough job, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, I think the Newark Housing Authority is doing the best job based upon the amount of money that's available for them to build. For instance, in the Central Ward, we have several housing developments that have gone up on my clock, and those housing units were available for low income as well as moderate income and high income home ownership, and they are doing a tremendous job. As a matter of fact, the only entity in the city of Newark that is now building affordable housing in the city of Newark happens to be the Newark Housing Authority.
And Mr. Sharif?
Right, I would say I would encourage the Housing Authority to do more to provide more low-income housing, but it is always interesting to hear Mr. Bell say that housing has gone up on my clock. When he was at the Housing Authority, he was an affirmative action officer, and so I don't remember him negotiating deals with the developers or leading the construction of housing himself. He happened to be in office when the housing was built. He played no central or critical role in the production of these housing units. But in the literature that Central Ward residents received, you would think that Mr. Bell negotiated these housing deals and built these units. That could not be further from the truth.
And Mr. Bell, you obviously wanted to respond to that.
Oh yeah, I want to respond to that. However, if a contractor came to the city of Newark, the contractor is going to build a housing in the city of Newark. It was mandatory that the contractor had to submit for my personal review and approval a plan of action in which they were responsible for the building of those homes. And in so doing, I had to approve every affirmative action plan that was submitted, which also involved not only the involvement of minority contractors, the hiring of local residents, carpenters, plumbers, and electricians, who many have been trained, as I said, on my clock. Many guys are now getting ready to retire from the unions because of the work that I was able to do by providing them with job training opportunities.
Did you want to respond?
No, I definitely want to respond to it. Every single entity has an affirmative action arm, and I applaud Mr. Bell for being the affirmative action officer, but to infer that he negotiated the deals to build these units, in the agreement it is written and stipulated that X percentage of the jobs and employment should go to Newark residents. He just monitored that. He didn't negotiate these deals. He just monitored it. That's all.
I never said that I negotiated. I said it was my responsibility to make sure that it happened. And as a part of my responsibility, I made sure that Newark businesses got contract opportunities, and I made sure that the people in the city of Newark got job training opportunities.
Well, there ought to be a correction then on all the literature that they send, maybe a correction similar to the resume that was on Mr. Bell's website, because it does not say that. It leads somebody to believe that he was responsible for providing all these jobs for Newark residents. And so I'll leave that to the Central Ward voters to read that literature and then to balance that against what we're now hearing from Mr. Bell.
Okay, on that note, let me move on to the next topic. This administration has hung its success on the reduction of crime. And obviously voters thought that they did a good enough job. What do you guys think? Do you want to see changes to how the city fights crime? Mr. Sharif, let me go to you first.
Yeah, I applaud the reduction of murders, violent crimes, but I want to see a different evolving relationship with the police department and the community that is sworn to protect. Too many times I hear from citizens, especially young people, that there's a very nasty and harassing relationship between them and the police department. So I'm for getting the police department, not just having cops on the beat, but getting them more integrated and involved in the social fabric. I'd love to see more cops being teachers or mentors, tutors, being coaches of little leagues, because once they become involved in the community at that intimate level, the trust relationships automatically build. And then over time, I think you will see on both sides less distrust and more of police really being a true part of the community. It is great, and residents have told me that they appreciate having cops on the beat. Residents have also told me that they would appreciate even more if cops played a more intimate role in the community that they serve.
Mr. Bell?
Well, I'm of the belief that the city of Newark has done a good job with the perception of crime in and around the city of Newark. And I'm of the belief that if we could get our citizens to become more involved